Welcome back to the channel, and because it's the holiday season here in the UK, I've been able to spend an extra afternoon in the workshop, so I've managed to get a lot of the work I needed done and just bring you up to date with current state of play. So this here is the whole load of stock that I've been working on. Now these bits, these offcuts here, are the bits that I've been trimming down to size, and all this lot can go for extra work later on with other projects. But I've been able to cut down all of the long lengths roughly to length for the sake of the panels, the shelves and the tops. But now what I'm going to do is, on the table saw, cut the lengths down so I've got the approximate width, and then I can cut these down on the crosscut saw to length. So that's what I'm going to do this afternoon. You might remember that I was having a bit of problem with the vacuum system and the table saw backing up and blocking up. Now I've given this quite a bit of thought, and it's a Bosch unit. Bosch don't make it easy to fit regular dust extraction systems. The outlet, the internal diameter is 57 millimeters. The outside dimension is 68 millimeters. So none of the hard 63 millimeter fittings will fit. So what I've done, and let me show. So what I've done is, into the regular dust extraction trunking, this is the flexible tube that I've had with the bandsaw, and you'll notice I've fixed it right up to the table saw, and I've managed to get it round the extraction port on the table. I've made sure it stays in place, so I've got a Jubilee clip at both ends. Now I'll see how this works, and then hopefully I'll be able to get some more permanent fixtures later on, rather than keep having to reuse the same tube on different pieces of machinery. So that's where we are. Let's get the table saw set up and we can start doing some work. Right, I've set the table saw up. I've got two cuts that are going to be 100mm wide. Those are the rails for the top, the cupboards, the top rail at the back. They're the ones that are going to actually take the weight of the cabinet on the wall. So 100mm, and so I'm just going to do a test cut. I've got some of the off. So that width is a shade under 100. So if I increase it by, say, a couple of mil, I can then take it down on the planer. So let's have a go with this one. And I've just realised that's maximum of 100, so that's taken that cut to about 101. Let me increase it just a shade more, so just to give myself a little bit of leeway. .103, that'll do. Right, so as I say, there are only 2 cuts on this that need to be 100 wide, and both of these boards are plenty wide enough to take that. So, get my push stick. And that is a nice cut. Right, so those are the 2 long rails. Put those to one side. Right, so everything else on here is going to be 50 mil. So I think same again, I'm going to give myself 2 or 3 mil spare. Now this is, oh no, that's 45, so that bit's just scrap. Right, 50 mil, 53 mil. Again, a test cut. And that's actually coming out at 52. That'll be fine. I'll work with that one. So everything else, and let me make sure I know what I'm doing, which piece I'm working with. Okay. Right, and I must say the vacuum so far is working nicely. It's pulling almost everything through, which is what I want, and we'll see how it goes for the rest of this shift. And that's a good job done. All of them now roughly down to 50mm. I can take those down to finished size on the planer, and then it's a case of starting jointing. So let me tidy up here, get rid of the little bit of dust that's accumulated, and we can take the next step. Right, just a couple of cuts left to do now, and that's these on the cross-cut saw, so that I can take those down to length. And then I want to, some of these pieces are a little unequal in size, so I want to take all of those down on the thicknesser to finished size of 50mm, and but we'll come to that in a wee while. So let me just cut these two. There we go, and that's rubbish. Right. Wanting to plane or put these all through the thicknesser. I'd like to, but what I'm conscious of is that they might wobble and they might tip. So I was wondering, are there any suggestions out on the web that can give me some guidance? And what I've come up with, it's an article from Fine Woodworking magazine. I'll put a link to this one in the description below. But it's a simple planer sled for short or thin pieces. And basically it's a piece of MDF, and this is a piece of 12mm that I've got. I'm going to cut that down to width so that it will fit through the thicknesser. I'm going to put 2 battens at either side and then literally wedge pieces in, and that way they will hold each other in place. Well, that's the theory, and I'll be able to get everything nice and smooth right from the start in quick order. So just going to make this sled, and that's why I've got the bandsaw out. Now, following up on a previous video, rather than putting it through the bandsaw freehand, you work against the fence and then it will be a nice square cut. So make sure that's nice and tight this time. It wasn't last. And here we go. And just check that that will go through both sides. Yep, there is a slight gap, which is what I wanted. Next thing, the 2 side battens, because this is 50 odd mil wide, yeah, 50 mil wide. The pieces that I'm working with are going to be slightly smaller, so I'm just going to put this through and take this down slightly. So I'm wanting, if I take it down to 40 mil, that's going to give me plenty of working room. Let's just make sure. There we go, 40 mil. And give myself a little bit extra working room. So if I just cut the length off there, yeah, that'll be okay. And I know you haven't seen me use the handsaw before, but it's going to be easier than struggle. Quick-ish. But this is why I tend not to do any hand sawing. when I was at school, I could never ever cut to a straight line, to a line. No matter how much I marked around the piece, I could never keep it square, and that is definitely not square. I know it's only rough and ready, but you get the idea of how bad I am. So, take this down to 40mm. That's that. And all I've got to do now is cut that in half, one on either side, screw it down, and then I've got my sled. The two side pieces are now cut to length, and I haven't attached them yet. I just wanted to see how the whole arrangement would work. So just gently slot this lot in, and what I want to do is reuse this at times, so they need to be firmly in but not rigid, so I can screw these in to place where they are. That will do for this project, but it will mean I can then reuse it by moving the two side rails as and when needed. Good, that's given me an idea. 2, 4, 6, 8, that's 10 pieces. That's going to get through these quite quickly, and that'll be good. Firmly attached, I've used 4.5mm 40mm screws to fit them to the bottom, so those are nice and rigid. That will take 10 widths very nicely, a firm fit, so they won't all shake about, and they certainly will not tip over. So that's that. I will get the thicknessing done next time, I think, because you'll notice all of the scrap wood from this project. I've got to get that out of the way, and so it's not a trip hazard, and more importantly so that I can manoeuvre the equipment. So that's as far as I'm going this afternoon. I've managed to tidy away all the scraps in a couple of locations. The shorter pieces on that trolley that I made for the purpose a few months back. Some of the longer pieces are on the rest of the shelving. But what have I done this afternoon? It doesn't feel a lot. I've cut some pieces to width. I've made a sled, and that's as far as I've gone, but it's set me up now for finalising the sizing of all of these pieces. That will be done next time, and then I can crack on with jointing all of the panels, and that's going to be a project in itself. That I think for complexity this isn't a big job, because I've done more complex pieces with the sewing box, for example, all those weeks ago. But this is the biggest project because of the number of components, and so I'm going to have to come up with some sort of batch system to get everything done all at once, and then I can just crack on and get a job done. So batching the thicknessing is one thing, batching the panels is another, so we'll come to that when we get there. But thanks ever so much for joining me on this journey, and welcome to all the new members. We're well over 170 followers now, and I'm very grateful for your support. I love reading your comments, and I'll see you next time.